It's already happening. Things are starting to get crazy. As you can see in front of you, many altcoins are up double digits today, and a bunch of alts, specifically the meme coins, are up 20, 30, 40% this week alone. But in my opinion, this may just be the beginning of something really, really big for crypto. However, you don't have that long to capitalize. In today's video, I'm going to be going through all the information that matters for you to understand where we currently sit in the crypto cycle, when to be anticipating a crypto cycle top, and of course, how you can maximize this opportunity to make life-changing money, because you don't have that much time. But the good news is there is massive opportunity if you focus right now. And in today's video, I'll be showing you how to do so. So to just recap what has happened in the market over the last 24 hours and over the past few days, you can clearly see that many altcoins are performing extremely strongly. This rally is largely, however, being led by the meme coins. Just a week ago, I did a video saying that you should not be fading meme coins, and you can see today that many of the top memes are up, in some cases, triple digits. You can see here, many of the dog memes on Solana, many of the culture memes on Solana have been exploding. Even some of the larger cap memes are performing today, and it really is a meme coin frenzy in the crypto market. I'll speak about that slightly later, and I'm going to give you a 4-step roadmap to actually smashing and maximizing the current opportunity in meme coins. But first, let's continue the recap of the crypto market. One thing that did contribute to this recent rally was, of course, Donald Trump speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Just to summarize some of the things that he actually said at that event, he said that one day he will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman. He said he would create a US government strategic national stockpile for Bitcoin if elected. He said the US government will keep 100% of the Bitcoin that it owns, unlike jitters such as Germany. He said that Bitcoin is going to the moon. I saw that one memed a few times. And he said, never sell your Bitcoin. And he also said Bitcoin will one day probably surpass the market cap of gold. Now, this is absolutely crazy that we have the leading presidential candidate coming out so candidly and bullishly speaking about crypto. I mean, just think back to a couple of years ago, or even 12 months ago, when we were worrying about Operation Choke Point in America with the SEC's regulatory overreach and all the sanctions that were happening across major crypto funds and exchanges. Fast forward to today, you literally have the potential and the likely, statistically, President of the United States of America coming out and making these huge claims. This is extremely bullish for crypto, and the US in general, and specifically in tech, is a market leader. So of course, if he does implement Bitcoin as some sort of strategic reserve, and if the US does really get into Bitcoin mining, other countries are going to follow. And there are other really big powerhouse nations across the globe that will not want to see the US become the leading frontrunner of the Bitcoin market. And they'll almost be forced to get into the market and participate in order to not lose market share to the US. So it becomes almost this race where different sovereign nations all want a slice of the pie. And I can see this unfolding in front of our very eyes. So I wasn't lying a couple of months ago when I made that video, and I think I did a follow-up a couple of weeks ago where I said, it's the most monumental shift I've seen in my 6 years in crypto. That was 100% true. This is the most monumental shift that I've seen in my 6 years in crypto. And that's why you really, really should pay attention, obviously to today's video, but also to the next few months specifically. And I'll get into even more specifics about why. You can see here that after Trump's speech, we saw social sentiment for Bitcoin surging. This is actually, in terms of social sentiment, the most bullish that the market has been on Bitcoin since March 2023. You can also see that we did have a little bit of a decline. This week went both ways on the day that Trump was speaking, largely due to the fact that some people thought it would be like a buy the rumor, sell the news event. We did see the sell-off, but what was really encouraging is that the last two candles on the daily ended up ticking green post-Trump's speech, which showed that it wasn't just a rally into the hype of his speech. It shows that materially he said enough to get the market excited about the mid to long-term prospects of Bitcoin. And that has started to reprice higher in the market. And we actually cleared the daily highs from the day that he spoke at the Bitcoin conference. So for me, the price action was even more telling than what Trump said. The fact that the market not only rallied into it, but also rallied afterwards says a lot about not only the potential legitimacy of his claims, but the bullishness and the sentiment that's actually driving the Bitcoin market right now. You can also see altcoins have continued to make their strong thrust since faking out from range low. It's quite interesting because about a month ago, everyone was super bearish. I remember when I was going off to Europe for a couple of weeks, there was a day just before I left when I was actually getting my haircut, and the market was absolutely dumping. Bitcoin was at 54K. Everyone was panicking. I did a couple tweets saying that I was heavily buying. I was actually in the chair whilst getting my haircut, like leverage longing coins like PEPE with Solana, which I spoke about. I've revealed those positions. Many of them are up 500, 600, 700% now. I'm still holding those positions actually. Obviously, I've taken some profits, but holding the material positions, the majority of them, and continuing to hold those positions because I do have a bullish disposition towards the market. And it's just so funny looking back on how much FUD there was back then. In hindsight, it was just such a massive opportunity. And I was really glad that I had the conviction to buy at that time. And hopefully a lot of you did as well, because, I did some shows at the time saying I thought the market was oversold and that was a massive opportunity. So hopefully my audience members that listened, you guys have had a really good couple of weeks as well. But I am here to say that if you did miss that, that wasn't your last chance to buy. There will be more opportunities. I'll get into my exact strategy when it comes to buying crypto in the altcoin section slightly later in the show. But there's a massive opportunity here. I mean, typically, Total 3, which is the altcoin index, which excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum, doesn't really have its full blow off top until it breaks what I call the tipping point. Jason Pizzino and I talked a lot about this in terms of the Bitcoin chart when he came on my show. But you can see for altcoins, that point was actually on the 1st of February in 2021, before it obviously went on that massive run up to all-time highs. That point for this cycle is slightly higher. Of course, you have range high at 475, but you have the local high in at 780 billion. So in my opinion, the fireworks for Total 3 won't start until we actually break that zone. And later in today's video, I'm going to get into when I think we could break that zone, because there are some signs based on data that are suggesting a potential altcoin peak at a certain point in time that we'll discuss. But the TLDR before that section is you do have time to accumulate, but time is running out. This isn't 2023 anymore. This is 2024, and things are heating up in a big, big way, if that wasn't evident already. So now I want to go through the current state of the market and look at the timeline. What is the data saying in terms of the timeline? How advanced in the cycle are we? Is this the final leg? Is this just the beginning of an exciting rally? And let's discuss when potentially altcoins could peak this cycle. Before we get into that, I want to remind you that if you do want to trade any crypto, there's an amazing offer in the description below, where if you deposit $100 into Bluefin, which is an exchange that allows you to buy, trade crypto, it's non-KYC by the way, so that might help some of you in certain jurisdictions. If you deposit $100 or more, you're going to get 10 WIF, which I think is around $25 for free. So literally deposit, hold the money in for the campaign period. You're instantly going to get $25 worth of WIF for free, airdrop to your account. And also for free, you're going to get to spin the lucky wheel. Now, this lucky wheel has a bunch of amazing prizes. The best prize is 1 Ethereum. So you have a chance of spinning the wheel if you sign up and winning 1 Ethereum, which is obviously valued at around $3,500. But there's a bunch of amazing prizes. You've got over $250 worth of WIF. You've got 10,000 bonk, 500,000 bonk, 7,000 PEPE, 1 WIF. Of course, you might not win anything because there's a good luck box here if you land on that. But it's a free spin, right? All you need to do is deposit, hold your money in there for the campaign period, which is 6 days. You're going to get a free WIF airdrop, and you can spin the lucky wheel for free. What you can also do, by the way, if you're an active trader, is win even more lucky spins. So it's actually unlimited. For every $10,000 in futures volume that you accumulate, you'll keep getting additional spins beyond the first free one that you get. So you could potentially spin. I think I saw some users on my link spinning, 20, 30, 40 times last month. So if you do trade a lot, if you're an active trader, it's actually not hard to rack up volume and you can get more spins. But there is a base one there for those that just want to sign up and deposit. Link in the description below if you want to participate in that. It's a pretty good offer, one of the best offers I've ever had on the channel for an exchange. Back to the subject of timeline. Now, I really like this tweet here from Merp. I'm going to read some of this here because I think it does a good job at summarizing where we currently are in the market. And I really respect Merp's content as well. He says, these are his longer form thoughts for this week. Just don't overthink it. A candidate with good odds at the presidency just announced plans to stockpile Bitcoin if elected. At 100% odds of a stockpile, what is the value of Bitcoin? 200K, 250K, 300K? In the case this event has a 40 to 50% probability of happening, what is the value of Bitcoin? Probably higher than $70,000. Expecting to see massive BTC inflows off the back of this speech. High time frame chart on Bitcoin looks amazing. Price can only hit the top of the range so many times before it creates a new range. The fact that we are still early with regards to post-halving odds adds further confluence to the possibility of an insane Bitcoin blow-off top sometime within the next 5 to 8 months. Dispersion likely continues regarding altcoins and exacerbates choose your coins well. We'll get into all that altcoin stuff, but I generally do align with this theory here from Merp in the sense that right now, Bitcoin is in a position where there's extreme asymmetrical upside. If there's even a 30 to 40% chance that we do get this US stockpile, and even a 20 to 30% chance you see other nations coming in and either stockpiling Bitcoin or announcing it as a strategic reserve, there's pretty much unlimited upside for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is currently sitting at $69,000. I'm expecting a six-figure Bitcoin in the near future. And obviously, if that happens, we are going to see absolute fireworks across the entire crypto market. Now, maybe Bitcoin does lead. Maybe Bitcoin is the fastest horse in this race, but the liquidity that a 100K Bitcoin is going to generate in the market, the interest that it's going to generate for crypto is only going to be a good thing for altcoins. And as I said on yesterday's show, is probably the most powerful thing that can get retail back into the market. Because obviously that has been a question recently. What is going to get retail back into crypto? I also like this tweet from Fajal. He says, the golden catch-up trade is now complete with Bitcoin nearing 70K. Just a couple of weeks ago, we're at 57K, and it was the most offside I've ever seen crypto from a macro landscape, and I got ridiculously bulled up on the obvious golden catch-up trade that was bound to happen once the Germany and Mt. Gox selling was digested. I was the same. I tweeted at the time and did shows at the time and post Discords at the time that I was buying. Obviously, that looks good in hindsight, but he goes on to say, and I do agree with this, it's now time for the golden catch-up trade to pass the torch to the sovereign government crypto bid supercycle. Let's go. The thing to note is that every cycle has a narrative, right? Some cycles have the narrative of Bitcoin being an inflation hedge. Some cycles, like some of the really early cycles, Bitcoin was just running based on the fact that it was new and speculative and interesting. But I do think this cycle probably has the most powerful narrative of all. This sovereign government bid is a really, really powerful narrative. Why is it more powerful than like the ETF narrative that, was rumored last cycle, for example? Well, it's because on an ETF, the flows are limited in the short to medium term. But when we're talking about governments who make trillions of dollars in revenue in terms of their GDP from, taxpayers and exports, the upside because of the amount of capital they have to pour in is exponentially larger than any micro catalyst. It really is the definition of a macro catalyst. So it doesn't necessarily need to come true into fruition within the next 5 to 8 months, but all you need is the narrative building, signs that narrative is building, and the market will front run and reprice and really do the work for you. And I've discussed this in the past before about how crypto's a really reflexive asset class. It tends to increase in sentiment as price goes up. And of course, the increased sentiment also has a feedback loop back to price going up, which obviously kicks off the flywheel. So as Bitcoin goes to 100K, it actually accelerates. It's an asset class which accelerates the higher it goes. Other asset classes, they decelerate as prices go up because, people take profits and it's not as attractive, like many stocks, to like buy in at higher prices. Crypto is more reflexive than that, especially because it's an online culture-based sector. So many of the people that are participating in this market are tapped into things like YouTube, Twitter. So they're seeing that hype and sentiment build, and the sentiment feedback loop is just much faster than other sectors. But staying on the topic of this whole sovereign government theory, I want to play this clip here, which was from the Blockworks macro podcast, because I thought it summed it up really, really well.
I mean, look, I'm not a huge crypto cycle guy, but if I just think about how we went through last cycle and looking at that Bitcoin dominance, the peak in sentiment was around when Elon started talking about putting Bitcoin on the Tesla balance sheet, and we had the Michael Saylor type of idea start to be well understood. And then that was basically corporates bringing Bitcoin onto their balance sheet. Right now, what we're speculating on is on the next cycle being sovereigns taking Bitcoin onto their balance sheet. So we're speculating on the US government having Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. So to me, it does feel like we're tracking where we're getting really close to that same moment last cycle where private companies getting Bitcoin on their balance sheet kind of marked that top in Bitcoin sentiment and rotation into alts. Feels like right now we're getting that, but this time it's on the sovereign level, which is awesome. I mean, we're seeing adoption happen in action through these adoption cycles.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive, and I think that sums it up well. Last cycle, all it took was Tesla adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. One singular company. Now we're talking about entire governments adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. It's pretty huge. But let's go back onto the topic of timing. So timeline for this cycle, because I do want to discuss that before I get into some other catalysts, which is the reason why I'm bullish on the market. And then obviously we're going to get into how you can play it from an altcoin perspective, because that is super important. But in terms of timing, I think 5 to 8 months, I definitely think we could see heavy expansion. I think Q4, just like I've said all along, looks like the quarter that could be really positive for crypto. We're already seeing the momentum starting to build into the election. So I definitely think short to midterm, the market can perform well. But keep in mind that peaks typically don't happen on Bitcoin until a year post-halving. So, and this does corroborate with other data as well regarding global liquidity and the banana zone theory and the real estate cycle. Bitcoin typically doesn't have that really, really rapid leg of expansion and repricing until the year post-halving. So in this case, it would be 2025. So we're not even really halfway through the cycle. If you want to look at the cycle from halving to Bitcoin peak, obviously if you look at it from trough to Bitcoin peak, then we're just over halfway through the cycle. But nonetheless, there's still a significant amount of time to go, however way you want to look at it, considering that, as I mentioned, crypto price accelerates towards the end of the cycle. So the biggest percentages in price appreciation for Bitcoin and for altcoins aren't going to happen until the cycle's 80, 90, 95, 99% done. So even now becomes a period to position yourself, because I think things are going to get a lot crazier than people think. And as I mentioned, the global liquidity cycle does line up with the Bitcoin halving chart. You can see here that Bitcoin is an asset that's extremely responsive to global liquidity. It's actually the variable that Bitcoin is most correlated to. So it's more responsive to global liquidity than it is correlated to stocks, real estate, bond rates, any other asset class. And when you do look at global liquidity, the cycles here tend to peak a few years after the trough. We had the trough in 2023, which means the peak is set to happen here just before 2026, which would actually line up with the Bitcoin halving theory, having Bitcoin putting it an all-time high, in this case on the 15th of September based on past cycles, and that really does line up with Q4 as well on the global liquidity index. Will Bitcoin slightly front-run this, and are things maybe slightly accelerated? Maybe. So maybe we do get a peak earlier in 2025, but my theory nonetheless is that the peak will be in 2025 at some point. As we get further throughout the rest of this year into Q4, I'll keep you updated with how I see things adjusting, because based on price performance, we'll likely have to adjust our timeline and outlook. If Bitcoin breaks all-time high next week and starts rocketing to 100K, goes 80, 90K, then of course you've got to start thinking that, look, potentially this cycle is, extremely accelerated. But if you keep seeing healthy discounts, healthy pullbacks, and I do think we will get them, then the cycle is maintaining healthy behavior and you can, assert potentially a mid-2025 top. But those are just some data points to look at. Interestingly as well, you've got the banana zone. I know Raoul Pal talks a lot about this, and this is a period of extreme economic expansion. You can see here that we are only just now entering the banana zone in August 2024, a couple days after I'm uploading this video, and that zone should see us through to 2025 as well. And I think a peak here is looking around about the May period based on the last halving cycle. And we are heading into a similar economic cycle now in 2024, not just for Bitcoin, but for global liquidity and all asset classes, all risk-on asset classes, right? Not risk-off asset classes. So everything is kind of lining up for 2025 right now. It really is like a perfect stars aligning kind of moment. And then you have additional catalysts like this beyond that. Of the election, obviously Trump has been a major proponent of crypto. A Trump election would be massive for crypto, seeing that he will probably appoint Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. Obviously, you can read through in your own time some of the points he made. He's extremely bullish on crypto. According to Polymarket, he has a 60% chance of winning. I'm of the personal belief that he wins. It's a personal opinion, but I think it's pretty clear that if he wins, that will be much more bullish for crypto than the alternative. You also have Bitcoin ETF flows having a really strong couple of weeks. So although we saw some shakiness across the June period, they've come back with a vengeance. And over some days over the last couple of weeks, we've done $300 to $400 million worth of inflows for the day. Even over the past 3 days, we've had 100 million plus worth of inflows. So the Bitcoin spot ETFs continue to garner interest. And one of the points that I highlighted earlier was the fact that this whole sovereign narrative could actually see interest for the Bitcoin ETFs increasing in the lead up to an election. So I am interested to see whether it does catch that bid on the TradFi side in the way of Bitcoin flows actually increasing. Because you've got to realize now, a lot of market participants, they don't just need to buy on exchanges anymore. They can access Bitcoin through the stock exchange. So you'll have a lot of traditional players and, pension funds, etc., positioning themselves for this narrative, but they won't be buying it on Binance. They'll be buying it via the Bitcoin spot ETF. We, of course, also had the Ethereum ETF launch. It has launched weak. This was my anticipation before the launch that we would see initial flows in the red due to the fact that you currently have ETH, which is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust unwinding. This is the exact same thing that happened to Bitcoin in the early days. But the ETH ETF, in my opinion, is still a bullish thing for ETH. And I think what will happen is, I do anticipate Bitcoin actually leads this cycle, by the way. So I think Bitcoin is actually going to outpace and outperform Ethereum. But at some point, we will see a rotation. I think the major run is going to happen in Bitcoin first. And then I think we could see a rotation back down into ETH as Bitcoin approaches that 100K level. And then people want to start positioning themselves in ETH as maybe a slightly riskier play to get a more risk-on exposure to the crypto market, considering at that point they would have seen their Bitcoin holdings go up 30 to 40%. And that's a powerful thing in the market, seeing your portfolio perform well. It kind of gives you that feeling that you need to be taking on more risk. Now, for us, that might be going into the meme coin casino, right? Because we're degens. But for the average traditional player that's buying a Bitcoin spot ETF, for them, it might be going into an Ethereum ETF. So I think at some point we will see the fruits of this ETF. It's just going to take some time. And that was my opinion before it launched. As you guys know, I thought that we're going to have a weak start, and we did, and price dropped. And it may continue to be a little bit sluggish, but I do think at some point ETH does perform well. You can see here, Quinn Thompson says, Larry Fink is laughing in disbelief that the market is going to let him run back the exact playbook on the ETH ETFs as Bitcoin. The percentage of ETH outflows right now corresponds to the same amount of GBTC inflows between Jan 23 to 24. It truly is going to be that simple, isn't it? Obviously, Bitcoin had that initial sell-off after the ETF, and then this white line marks the pivot point before Bitcoin went on a major rally. So we may very well see that on ETH. I'll be tracking the technicals on ETH quite closely. Maybe for the next couple of weeks, it continues its downtrend. But at some point this year has that strong repricing to the upside as the flows start to tick from the negative to the positive. And then there's one more bullish catalyst that I want to point out here, and that is the fact that FTX is repaying $16 billion, 12 billion of the 16 billion is in cash, back to its creditors. So basically what's going to happen is a lot of people that had their money stuck in FTX that couldn't pull out are now going to receive cash back because obviously FTX forced dumped their assets. They actually sold in 2023. So in many cases, Solana was being dumped at $20, $30. They were dumping Matic at huge discounts. They were dumping pretty much everything, right? Even Bitcoin. So you'd actually be pissed off if you're an FTX creditor because you could have held those assets and been up a significant amount now. However, one of the caveats to that is that the market probably wouldn't have had such an aggressive repricing higher if it weren't for the fact that a lot of this selling was flushed out. And in hindsight, it was really, a generational opportunity to have forced selling like that. I mean, to scoop up assets like Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. I mean, Bitcoin was 16K during the bear market when FTX was collapsing, and when they were selling, it was still in the low to mid 20s. You had Ethereum around $1,000. You had Solana around $20. Like, it was a massive opportunity. So I get why these creditors would feel bad, but it was kind of what was needed to completely reset the market and flush out a lot of the bad stuff from the market, so we were free to go on this big rally that we are now experiencing. But this fresh bid is, I think, going to be pretty substantial, considering a lot of creditors are going to want to pour money back into the market after seeing their holdings exponentially increase over the last year. Because think about it psychologically. If you were an FTX creditor, you'd be pissed off, right? But what you also would have seen is your asset go up 5 to 10x in that same period. So if you haven't had the capital to re-enter the market already, you'd probably be itching to re-enter the market. And this $12 billion, for that reason, could very well see at least a decent percentage of it, that money flow back into the market. In terms of timeline for this, FTX creditors have until August 16th to cast their ballots. They intend to seek final approval of its wind down plan on October 7th, which means October, November, December, these Q4 months will likely be the month where you do see this cash injection. Like all strong narratives in crypto, they typically get front run. So I think this creditor news will probably get front run closer to August once we start seeing news of the creditors casting their ballots. So I think in about a month to 2 months, we may see strength off the back of this. And of course, once this cash starts hitting the market, that will also be positive for the supply dynamics of the market. But it may very well get front run. So keep that in mind. Ansem says here, in all seriousness, it should be clear that the entire space will be a minimum 10x higher in a decade. If there's seriously governments considering accumulating Bitcoin in the same way they do gold, nobody's price targets are high enough. All the ups and downs in between are irrelevant. He goes on to say, crypto doesn't go sideways for 6 months, screws us all over with a false breakdown for a 10% move. This market trades like a maximum speed freight train when it starts trending again. And that's what we've seen over the past week. It sped up really quickly. It accelerates so fast when it decides to get moving, like a maximum speed freight train. And it can cause people to, feel a lot of FOMO because of how quickly it reprices higher. On the first point that Ansem made, I 100% agree. There is so much upside for crypto over the next decade. So it isn't just about the next 5 to 8 months, 6 months in this market. Obviously, in the short term, that could be your last chance to really maximize it. But those who have a long-term view on this market and are investing in quality infrastructure, obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, assets that can genuinely continue with their network effect, get a bid from TradFi, have the potential for an ETF. These are the kinds of assets long-term that will perform well. So my strategy is very much maintaining exposure to the crypto market for a decade, and beyond. I hold Bitcoin in my long-term portfolio. I hold ETH, I hold Solana, I hold a variety of other assets as well, which I think could perform well long-term. I actually talked about in the bear market buying Coinbase. Those are shares that I still hold because I thought that was a good plan. That's up, I think, roughly a 6 to 7x now. So there are stocks as well these blue chip kind of plays that I want to hold longer term. But in the shorter term, there's obviously a massive opportunity to lock in and capitalize. And this shorter term period gives you the ability to compound wealth much quicker, which obviously will then enable you to be trading with more capital. So if the market does experience a slower repricing higher over the next decade, you'll have much more capital, to capitalize. And if you can make a 10x this cycle even, you only really need to then 3x that over the next 7 years to potentially get a 30x total return. So that's the thing about wealth, right? As you get richer, you actually don't need to take on the same amount of risk. You can start taking on progressively less and less risk, but put down bigger bets. So you have less percentage of your trades failing, but it's easier for you to make the same amount of money that you would have only been able to achieve before via taking on a massive amount of risk. I did a tweet this morning which says, back in Dubai, as you can see, where I am, at my desk, as you can see, I'm at my desk, 14-hour work days. I'm waking up at 5. I'm going to bed at 8. Apart from an hour workout and dinner, I'm literally at my desk all day or pacing around on the phone in my apartment, but nonetheless, working 14-hour days, locked in, let's print. So this is the point that I want to make. This is the point that is on the thumbnail of today's video. I believe, and I'm just kind of picking a random number here, but I believe you roughly have around 6 months to really put in the work and maximize this cycle. Obviously, if you started a year ago, that's amazing. If you didn't start a year ago, there's still a lot of opportunity. Retail hasn't really come back yet. That's the really exciting thing, right? We're seeing all this happening, but we know for a fact that retail does not get interested in crypto until the last 10% of upside. That's when they pour in and things go crazy. So if you're watching this video right now, I can tell you for a fact my views are still down, probably 50 to 60% of what they were in March. So there's actually less interest now than there was in March, but Bitcoin's approaching all-time high and many alts are starting to seriously wake up. If you're watching this video now, you have a massive opportunity, but treat the next 6 months seriously. Treat the next 12 months seriously, but especially the next 6 months, because I don't know how many opportunities we'll have in our lifetime to capitalize on a revolution like this. It's not just crypto specifically, it's also the online world. There are just so many opportunities right now to really, really, really set yourself up for the future. You would be absolutely stupid not to be grinding on the weekends, trying to find ways to pluck extra hours if you're working a full-time job to dedicate to the market, really getting serious about the market. If you're studying, potentially deferring your studies to just focus if you can sustain yourself financially. Because even if it doesn't pan out for you, do you want to live with the regret in a year's time that you didn't take it seriously? So even if you don't make it in this market in 6 months, which I think a lot of you will, by the way, especially the ones that are watching this channel, especially the ones that are really, really locked in the market, that are in my Discord, that are paying attention, I think you'll make it. But even if for some reason you don't, let's say you don't listen to the advice, you don't, take things seriously and you screw it up, are you really going to regret trying? Or are you going to regret more the fact that you didn't try, even though there was a massive opportunity? So that's one of the reasons why back in 2021, it was the same logic, but 3 years ago, quit university because I wanted to go full-time into the market and I didn't have time to do university and crypto. So I actually delayed 6 months, delayed another 6 months, then ended up unenrolling because there was just such a massive opportunity. Obviously, I was able to save up enough money and sustain myself and I was, okay financially. So I'm not saying take on crazy risk and lever up and put your family at risk. No, obviously make sure you have enough money to cover yourself. But if there is a way to dedicate yourself to this market, and it doesn't need to mean going full time, it can mean just finding a way to get extra hours in the market, I really think that that's going to end up paying off. And I would struggle to see why you would regret it later on. There's just such a huge opportunity here. Massive opportunity in the online world in general. Luke Belmar and I actually did a podcast on that. I'll be releasing next week. He goes into it. Obviously, he's an expert in that realm and he's had experience in e-commerce, etc. But, especially crypto, man, there's just so much opportunity. So let's get into the opportunity. We've talked about the cycle. What can you be doing to position yourself? I want to talk about a couple asset classes now that are showing really strong signs as to where you should be focusing. I'm also going to touch on how you should be accumulating. Should you be aping now? Is there time to buy? Is there going to be another pullback? Should you be buying? If you don't have capital, How can you compound your capital? Should you be trading? I'm going to get into all of that throughout the next 15-ish minutes of the show. First thing I want to highlight is Sol. It's definitely strongly in my focus right now. I did a video on it yesterday, so go watch that video if you want more information on my full thesis. But the TLDR is Sol is now flirting with a major breakout of the Solana ETH chart. It's rejected multiple times. If it does break out, it's clear skies ahead. It's price discovery on the Sol ETH chart, which would obviously be massive for the Solana price. On the Sol USDT chart, you have this $200 level, which is a major psychological level. Although Solana peaked technically at $260 back in 2021, the market cap peak for Solana is at $200. So I'm almost viewing $200 as the price discovery level for Solana. You break this level, I think we're repricing to 300 super quick. It's going to happen violently, but we do need a confirmed breakout of this level. So I'm keeping my eye on Sol. I'm actually in a Sol leverage long that I opened as I was public about a couple weeks ago. I'm also in a spot position that I've been riding since $15. Also tweeted about buying the lows then. And I've also been adding as price went up. I don't always get the lows. I've also been just accumulating, DCAing over time into Sol. I don't know what my cost basis is. It's sub $100, but it doesn't really matter. I think if we do see a $700, $800 Sol this cycle, there's still a 3 to 4x there. Obviously, those that got lower, there's maybe a 10x for you there, but it's really an ecosystem that I've got a lot of attention on. Kaito AI also highlights that attention in the fact that we are now seeing Sol flip ETH for mindshare. That's based on social media data. Obviously, that's off the back of the metrics going absolutely insane. Meme coin season Solana is really heating up again right now. There's tweets like this flying around saying that even assuming if ETH stays the same price, it probably goes up. Then a $1,000 Solana is around the same market cap and it already has better metrics, narrative, normie appeal. What price do I think Solana could hit? We should go and watch the video that I did a day ago, which is here, where I give you my exact Solana price prediction based on the data. If you are interested in Sol and the Sol ecosystem, I recommend watching that video. I also recommend watching this video here, where I said, you're missing the meme coin super cycle, you'll regret it forever. Funnily enough, that was 7 days ago, and since then we've seen memes absolutely explode. But a lot of the logic in terms of how I approach the meme coin market is in this video. So if you haven't been locked into the market recently, that's okay. You still have a small window to catch up here. Go onto my channel, watch those videos, get a feel for the market again, because I have been covering a lot of this stuff, but I was just getting less views because the market simply wasn't as bullish, although funnily enough, today's video is probably going to get much more views. One token that I've been paying attention to in the Solana ecosystem is Jupiter. I actually talked about this in my AMA and my Discord yesterday. We do private AMAs a couple of times a week for all Discord members in the Miles High Club. And over on that AMA, I said I was buying Jupe. It's already up nicely. It was up, I think, like 12% this morning. But I'm still riding that trade. I think this also has upside. They just announced the governor's proposal to lower the supply, and there's also a lot of stuff coming there. But I'm going to do a full Solana ecosystem video slightly later in the week, where I'm going to go through all of my top picks for the Solana ecosystem. It may even be tomorrow, but it'll definitely be this week. So make sure you are subscribed and have that post notification bell turned on so you don't miss daily crypto alpha, because I am back with daily videos. The next sector, and this kind of ties in with Solana because a lot of the meme coins are on Solana, that you should be paying attention to is, of course, meme coins. Guys, I am firmly of the belief this cycle, and it's become even clearer over the past couple of weeks, that meme coins are going to lead price performance. When retail comes back into the market, these are the things that are easy to understand. These are the things that are fun. These are the things that are accessible via your mobile phone on your Phantom wallet. They're the coins that are being shilled. Not every meme coin is going to go up. A lot are going to go to zero in the meantime, but at least the leading memes, I see huge upside in the established memes with big communities. Also, people that are coming into crypto and are feeling lost, they're going to want to join a community, right? They want a place to go. They want a place to feel special or feel heard. I mean, that's one of the amazing parts about crypto. It is the community. That's why I love the Discord. That's why I love my channel. That's why I love my Twitter. That's why I love live streaming, doing videos. Like, the community makes this industry so special compared to other industries. People are going to realize that the second they come into crypto if Bitcoin hits 100K, right? So I just think meme coins, They're easy to understand. There's no gimmicks. There's no promises of rubbish utility. There's no VC unlocks. Okay, you can snipe supply. Okay, team can dump. But at the end of the day, it is fairer in some aspects than some of the other token models in the market. And for that reason, people gravitate towards memes, man. And I think it's going to continue to be the cycle of meme coin outperformance. Of course, if you just want to get your hands on some free memes, you can click the link in the description below for Blowfin, sign up, deposit $100. You're going to get 10 whiff for free. You're also going to be able to spin the lucky wheel to win even more, 100 whiff, 500,000 bonk, PEPE, get yourself some free crypto, and you can keep spinning that wheel as you build up volume to win more meme coins. But that is, of course, a nice free bonus, but a lot of you are obviously looking at investing in the meme coin market. So how do I view the approach when it comes to that? Well, the first thing I want to point out is it's very clear by now that meme coins are the strongest narrative this cycle. They've been the strongest performing narrative year to date, up 287% against a variety of other narratives, which have still performed well, like RWA at 180%, but nothing has even come close to meme coins in terms of price performance. You can see this as well with layer 1s up 12% year to date, layer 2s down actually year to date due to the unlocks. A lot of other VC coins are down. Meme coins, and this is just based on with PEPE, Doge, Shiba, POPCAT, and MOG, which are main ones. If you want to take some lower cap ones, the number would be even higher, are up 2,000%. And Bitcoin is also weighted in this pool because I wanted to put it in because Bitcoin and memes have basically been the ultimate barbell portfolio this cycle. Now, funnily enough, I actually think that Bitcoin and memes are going to continue to be the ultimate barbell this cycle. Bitcoin has the top mindshare when it comes to this sovereign narrative. If it breaks out to all-time highs, it's going to be all eyes on Bitcoin in that run up to 100K. Bitcoin has the top mindshare. People aren't, it's not that classic rotation that we saw, in last cycles with the rotations down from Bitcoin to ETH to large caps to mid caps, that classic visual that we used to look at. This cycle hasn't been working like that. It's been going Bitcoin, meme coins. Bitcoin, meme coins. And right now, Bitcoin's pumping and meme coins are pumping. And a lot of the utility stuff isn't really performing. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the Bitcoin meme barbell strategy is actually the best portfolio this cycle. Now, does that mean I think you shouldn't hold utility? No, because I'm also in other narratives like AI, RWA. I've also been DCAing into some gaming coins, some layer 1s. I want general exposure because if the market really does fly, a lot of quality is also going to run, and there's often a lot more liquidity in these coins than there are the meme coins. But if you really wanted to simplify the market, basing your portfolio around these variables, so Bitcoin and memes, I don't think is a stupid play for the rest of the cycle. But what about the memes specifically, right? Well, you can go and watch my full meme coin video if you want a little bit more in-depth look at meme coins and individual picks, but I've kind of summarized the steps that I would take. If you're new to the meme coin market, if you're not experienced in the meme coin market, this is a really simple approach to get involved without having to feel like you're FOMOing in right now. The first thing you want to do is decide on portfolio allocation. So you need to decide your long versus short-term split. So in memes, long-term is 6 months, not years. And your short-term is basically your trading bag. So the meme coins, you're getting in, you're trying to look for a 5 to 10x, get out. For me, I'm 80% long-term and 20% short-term trading. Why? Because given my time constraints and given my temperament, I've worked out that I'm much better buying things like PEPE, WIF, POPCAT, MOG, even going down the risk curve on some mid-caps, and just holding them longer term in terms of time horizon. So this point, by the way, is about time horizon, than playing the short-term game. However, the risk reward of being in the trenches playing the short-term game, especially right now, is pretty high. And as the market continues to go up and as memes go higher, it's going to get even better. So I also do like to spend that 20% of capital wisely by getting in the trenches. And it's funny because that 20% of capital often accounts for 80% of my time. So it's flipped. Time-wise, I'll spend 80% of my time managing 20% of my capital because the 80% that I'm putting into the longer term meme coins, as I said, 6 months, they don't require active positioning. I'm just DCAing and holding. It's so easy. It takes like 2 minutes a day or 20 minutes a week to manage that, right? It doesn't take that long. The next thing you want to work out in terms of portfolio allocation is whether you want to go for the leaders or the low caps. So first you want to work out time horizon. How do you want to split between long and short term? Next, you got to work out how do you want to split between leaders and low caps. Once again, I'm also probably around 70 to 80% leaders and then 20 to 30% micro caps. The leaders, I'm pretty confident are going to be around in 6 months. The micro caps, many of them are going to go to zero. But there might be some big winners where I can hit another 60x like I did on PEPE. So I also want to play the low caps, but with less capital than the leaders. Now, if you are in the trenches all day and you are paying attention, and if your split looks more like, it's mostly short term and you're spending a lot of time in the market grinding meme coins, then you can go higher on the low caps. But I just don't spend the amount of time to be able to justify it. So I'm probably 70 to 80% in the leaders. So before you buy anything, you've got to decide that. If you're holding any meme coin, even Pepe, even with even Doge, even SHIB, even Flocky, etc., and you don't know what your split is, please reassess it, because the meme coin market, although it's very profitable, it is risky, and you can't take those gains for granted because they can also go away just as quick as you make them. So please have a plan going in, and it can be as simple as having percentages and creating a spreadsheet and making sure you're roughly aligned to those percentages, right? It's that simple. Number 2, create a watch list. So I actually have a second monitor. I've got 3 monitors, but to my left here, there's a monitor. And on that monitor, there's multiple tabs. One of the tabs is just a TradingView watch list with all the meme coins that I want to buy. It's that simple. It's a watch list of the meme coins I hold and the meme coins I want to buy. And I have key levels for all of them. I have DCA levels for all of them. I have alerts for all-time high breakouts. And I have lower time frame, 1 hour, 4 hour setups as well, and alerts if I want to open a trade. And having a separate meme coin TradingView watch list for me has been a revelation, because you've got to trade them differently. It's a little bit more in and out a lot of the time, especially with the shorter term, lower cap stuff that I just talked about. So having that dedicated watch list has helped. What it will also help you do is not FOMO in, because as memes go to new all-time highs, you can be compulsed to buy in at new highs, but really what you should be doing is waiting for major retraces. They happen. Like yesterday, there was a pullback on a meme that I really wanted to buy, and it was down 50%, and it actually went up. It bounced it pretty much retraced the entire move the next day, right? So these dips happen, these big flushes happen because there are insiders and snipers that get in early that want to exit. Sometimes they exit big and there's FUD and price crashes, but it often recovers super quick. So if you have your alerts on TradingView, you're not going to miss those opportunities. So I use a second monitor, but even if you're on your laptop, just have a tab open with your meme coin watch list. Number 3 is you can create a dedicated meme coin feed. This is pretty cool. I'll go even further than this. I'll say Plus, Telegram, and Discord. One thing that I have in the Mars High Club is a meme talk channel where we're DJing into memes. We're even sharing contract addresses for lower cap memes. There was a couple memes that my analyst bought today that they just posted, and we just DJing into memes. I basically, post some of the stuff I'm buying, interested in, my thoughts on memes. That is a place, this chat here, that I'm going to be much more active with sharing some of my memes, because not all the low caps I'm buying I feel comfortable talking about on YouTube. There's just too many people here, whereas I am more comfortable in a closed environment in my Discord. So the waitlist is currently closed. I'll let you know when we do open it up again if you missed it, but for all the members, that is a place where I'll keep you updated. And what you can also do is just create a dedicated meme coin list on Twitter with meme coin degens. You can join meme coin Telegram groups, Discords, etc. Look, there's going to be a lot of noise when you're on these massive groups. Like my group's relatively curated, whereas a Telegram with 100,000, 50,000 people, it's going to be a lot of people shilling their own bags. So you do have to take things with a grain of salt. Don't just aimlessly buy stuff. Wow, I can't even speak right now. Don't just blindly or aimlessly, that's what I was trying to say, aimlessly buy stuff. But what it is good for is keeping an eye on what the trends are. What are people interested in? Are there any tickers that keep coming up and up and up again? Are there some coins that look really cool and pass your basic due diligence that you never heard about, but now you know because you were in a meme coin chat? It's really important. The meme game isn't really like the majors. A lot of the best memes, they aren't on CoinGecko. They're on Dex Screener. They're in Telegrams. They're in the Discords. There's insiders positioning themselves early and then pumping price. It really is a game where you've got to have your ear to the ground. You're going to have your finger on the pulse, be quick, be in the trenches. unlike other sectors where you can take more of a hands-off approach. If you're playing the small cap game, if you're playing the leaders game, it does become a lot easier. That's why you got to work out, as I said, the splits there. Number 4, and this is equally as important advice, just get involved. You don't need to use a lot of money. Put $50, $100 into a phantom wallet. Get your hands dirty. Just ape random stuff, lose money, except you're going to get rugged. Try it. If you try it with your own money, it's just going to make you a better trader. Doing is always better than learning. Like, for anyone that's been to university and graduated and started working, like, you'll know, you learn way more working than in university. I've learned more about economics, finance, market psychology than I would have in a 6-year finance degree, right? Just from being in this market every day for the last 2 years, because you see the cycles happen so quickly. You see how, what impacts prices across different asset classes. You learn what the dynamics are. You learn how insiders trade. You learn how retail trades. Like, I've gotten all this experience just from being in this market. I mean, I've been in for 6 years, but especially over the last couple of years, right? Where I've been full time. But it's the exact same thing in crypto, in a sector in crypto. The more time that you spend actually trading, getting your hands dirty, the better you're going to be versus someone that just watches and observes. So just set up a phantom wallet, set up a MetaMask, do, DJ some stuff on ETH, DJ some stuff on Solana, and have fun. Now, in terms of the meme coins I'm most bullish on, I'm going to save that for a future video. I did reveal some in my last meme coin video. If you want to watch it, I'll also link it in the description. But there are a few different metas I'm looking at. I like the cat meme coins. I own a lot of these top ones, mostly the leaders, these 4 here. Obviously, PEPE I'm a big holder of. I've talked about that a lot. Also, at a very key level that it's flirting with right now. WIF also rebounding nicely. It's a leader. Hasn't pumped that much this week, but it's another long-term, maybe slightly safer large cap holding that I've got. Also, I want you to look into Dogecoin. It is starting to break out of this flag here on the weekly. You do have a target for that up here at the 23 cent level. That could be a nice 50 to 70% move there on Dogecoin. So that's one that I'm also watching, but basically playing the leaders. And you guys kind of know what they are now if you're watching my videos, but there are a few that I've recently entered that I'll probably do a video on later in the week. I'm getting much more active personally in the meme coin market. Like, I've kind of just accepted recently, and look, you guys know I've been in PEPE for a long time. I've talked about WIF. I call that very early on before $1. Like, I've been in the meme coin game for a long time, but I've like doubled or tripled down on the amount of time that I'm spending in the trenches now because it's just so profitable compared to my other alts, which don't really require active positioning. Like my utility bags, it's really just DCA on major dips and hold quality stuff. Like it really is that simple, and check back in 6 months. Like for utility, it's that simple. For memes, it's more active, and that's why it demands more time. Now, on the subject of utility alts, should you be buying altcoins in general? And this can also apply to memes. I really like this tweet here by Salsa Tequila. He says, or she says, if you're buying up here near 70K, it's because you believe this thing is going straight to all-time highs and not stopping. If you think there'll be dips and look to buy those, don't FOMO, there'll be dips. I agree with this 100%. I think there are going to be dips, and my major positioning is reserved for key dips, right? As long as we're above 60K, I did a video on this before, key dips, big dips are for buying coins you're bullish on, whether that be across meme coins or utility coins, quality across both sectors. If you're buying here into resistance on Bitcoin, which we are now approaching a resistance zone, you're buying because you think we're going to break. So yes, you might be able to squeeze an extra 10 to 20% now buying before all-time highs. And by all means, if you're completely out of the market, there's nothing wrong with buying here. But I assume a lot of you are already heavily in the market, right? Most of my viewers are. And if that's the case, right now you can reposition, right? Get into some coins maybe you're not in that you want to be in, and get rid of the trash. You can reposition at any time. But in terms of adding fresh liquidity, I'm waiting for like either a deep pullback or a breakout of all-time high. Like if Bitcoin confirm breaks 73, like solid chance we're going to 100. It won't happen straight away. There'll be pullbacks along the way, of course, but that would be better risk reward for me than buying into resistance, just strictly from a Bitcoin point of view. But generally speaking, from a macro cycle perspective, there is still so much upside. So buying around this range in general is still a range where it's, in my opinion, going to be difficult to lose money if you're buying quality. There was a tweet earlier in the show which mentioned altcoin dispersion. That is something you've got to be aware of. So you can't just buy anything right now. I think a lot of majors aren't actually going to perform that well. I think Bitcoin could go to 100K and some XRP and ADA could only be like a 2x off their floor, 3x off their floor. And I even think a lot of the even tokens that you might like and hold, I don't want to name names. Like I'll just use some random examples, like, Matic, AVAX, like just coins that are in the top 50. Like they may underperform what you would hope based on last cycle, like Gala, Sandbox, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying those coins exactly, but that kind of market cap range, simply because there's so much dispersion. You got to remember that when altcoins heat up, when Bitcoin heats up, a lot of new teams are going to launch tokens. So there's going to be a lot more tokens flooding onto the market. It's going to increase altcoin dispersion, and it's going to mean utility alts are going to struggle even more. So for me, I'm really focused on finding coins with community, obviously memes, but also tokens with very strong narratives behind them. Things from AI. There isn't that many good AI coins, so it's easier to pick winners there. Things from RWA. It's still a strong narrative. Things from meme coins especially. We've talked about them a lot today, right? Those are ones that I would be looking at. And don't completely ignore utility either. Don't go straight into memes and put 100% of your portfolio into memes, because I do believe, as I said here, we may see a utility run later in the cycle. So I think memes will continue to perform throughout, short, medium, and long term. I think utility, a lot of it will reprice really high in that final 10% of the cycle. And I think that run will be absolutely huge. Now, when I say utility, what do I mean? And what is a quality alt? It's a coin like Nia, which is one of the leaders in the AI sector. They've got amazing tech. They're an L1, decent community, decent holder base, good liquidity. This is a coin for me that's a decent one to pull, like a 3 to 4, 5x multiple. Prime, another asset that's been beaten down. It's one of the leaders in gaming and AI. That's an asset I'm looking at. There are so many. RUNE, right? RUNE's an asset like that as well. That's at a high time frame level. PENDLE, it's one of the leading RWA coins. You've got Phantom. I'm looking for a flip here of the 50-cent level, but nonetheless, this is a coin that I think is still fundamentally strong going into the Sonic upgrade. There are many more, like Maker. There are many, many more. I've spoken about them a lot on the show. If you've been watching the show, you should know what they are by now. But the utility alts, I'm not fading either. I'm still holding them. I haven't just gone all into memes, but because I still think a lot of these coins perform well, and in some cases offer pretty nice risk reward. Just keep in mind that your goal as an investor is to beat Bitcoin. So if you don't think the altcoin can beat Bitcoin based on its Bitcoin pair, don't long that alt. Otherwise, just long Bitcoin and just ride it up. Even ride it up on low leverage. Get low leverage entries on dips 2 to 3x, and then just ride that for the rest of the cycle. That could be better for you if that's your strategy. For me, it's spot a bit of leverage, but mostly spot accumulation across a variety of altcoins with a focus on memes. That's pretty much what I want to say. So this video is pretty long. It's almost an hour. I'm going to leave some alpha for a future video, but share this video with a friend if you want to help them prepare for this cycle as well. I think things are going to get exciting. If you aren't subscribed already, make sure you're subscribed. I'm back to daily uploads. The Mars family is going to absolutely print, I think, over the next 6 months. So if you aren't already, and if it's not evidently clear by now, it is time to lock into crypto and get really, really serious. Link in the description to Blowfin if you want to access that lucky wheel and win some free meme coins. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow. Peace out.